Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. It is Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Tonight, we are on episode yada, 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 whatever. And we're going to be going through an article from NFL.com lead draft writer Eric Edholm. He did something to show the top 5 NFL draft values of the millennium by position on offense. And I thought it was a pretty interesting article. I think that when you go through the positions over the last 25 years, it is really tough to narrow it down to a top 5. And it just be kind of a fun exercise to go through and show who he has selected and maybe give our 2 cents on guys that we liked or didn't like or might have given an honorable mention to or anything like that. So, yeah, I guess with all that being said, how's it going there tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Good, man. It feels like abnormally bright for this late. But I guess, that's the world and the earth and the sun and things like that. They just do their thing, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like I said earlier, like you just had it in the right spot. It was fucking blinding your screen. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I can
it.
kind of see it moving across my counter here while we're talking slowly, and so I'll probably have to keep moving it throughout the night, but that's okay. All right, so yeah, so James, I sent you a couple links. I sent you something to show, the draft history by position, and then we've got Pro Football Reference to kind of like quickly look up some stats as we're comparing guys and whatnot. How do you want to do this? Do you want to start with like offensive line, then go tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback? Or do you want to just start with quarterback and go from there?
I say we go with offensive line because like the offensive line list, like it's very hard to argue with.
It is. And yeah, I mean, I like their list. I'll give you some of the notes that I had, and, we can kind of skim the draft history together. For the offensive line, you got to go by position. So guard, center, tackle, which takes a little bit more time. But here's Eric Edholm's top 5 of the last 25 years. And he's got Jason Kelce at 1, center Jason Kelce. Who was a round 6 draft pick, 191 overall in 2011. Then he's got Jari Evans, a guard from the Saints, round 4 overall, number 108 overall in 2006. Then we've got Marshall Yanda, another guard, round 3, number 86 overall in 2007, played for the Ravens. Then after that, David Bakhtiari, a tackle, round 4, number 109 overall in 2013, played for the Packers. And 5th, he's got Andrew Whitworth, tackle, drafted in the 2nd round, number 55 overall in 2006. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty freaking solid list. And when you're talking value, none of these guys were first-round picks, right? And so, I mean, obviously there's a ton of value with these guys. If I go through and I scrub this list, obviously, I'm biased here. I'm going to do a little special shout-out for Eric Fisher, number 1 overall pick from Central Michigan, Fire Up Chips, 2013, by the way. I would also have to special shout-out Joe Staley, who was a first-round pick in 2007 from Central Michigan. But, both first-rounders. So if we're trying to find value deeper on, man, a couple guys that I liked. I did like Richie Incognito. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2005. I liked Tyler Biadasz, who was a 4th-round pick in 2020. He's obviously still playing. He's with the Commanders now. I did like Joe Tooney, 3rd-rounder in 2016. Willie Colon, 4th-rounder in 2006. After that, I like Teron Armstead, third rounder in 2013. Even Donovan Smith, kind of a value pick, round 2 in 2015, and that's keeping it all outside of the first round. I do think that you had some stud first rounders. Some of them may be a little bit too young to decide yet, but like Penny Sewell with the Lions, first round in 2021, he's been an absolute stud. Tristan Wirfs, first round pick for Tampa Bay in 2020, he's been an absolute stud. Zach Martin recently retired. He was a first round pick for the Cowboys in 2014. He deserves mention here. Same with Tyron Smith, first round pick in 2011. Trent Williams, he's still kicking it, first round 2010. So if you were going to go into the first round, there's definitely some guys, and those are just tackles. You could also look at Alex Mack at center.
Well, you skipped the first rounder, Laramie Tunsil in 2016.
I didn't skip it. I just didn't get all the way through the list, man. There's a lot of good guys, man. Yeah, I mean, there's another one, right? Quentin Nelson at guard in 2018. So, I mean, I love it that the list is, outside of the first round for this position. But it's like, damn, man, there have been a lot of good offensive linemen. It would be very hard to pick 5. And I think that the 5 that they picked were good, especially since they're all outside the first round.
No, I agree with you. And that's why I said we started with offensive line, because it's really hard to argue. Like, you find people all outside the first round, and like I scrolled through the list that you just sent, and I'm still scrolling through it. And like I'm not seeing people I would necessarily possibly put over them. The ones he picked. I'm only through guard though, so I gotta take a glance at the centers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. It's really hard to. Yeah, it's really hard to leapfrog anybody unless you were going to put one of these first rounders on that list. And even then, some of these first rounders are still too young, like Penny Sewell and Tristan Wirfs, where you could say, well, they're only 4 or 5 years into their career. You got a lot of guys on the list now that are retired that went the distance, right? And so it's tough to top that when we're talking about value.
Yeah, and like I'm looking, like even as I look at centers, like there's not a lot of centers in the first round. There's a couple here and there sprinkled throughout, but like I'm not really finding anybody that I would put over her.
Yeah. I think it's pretty solid of a list, man.
Yeah, like I think it is. Like there's not much argument. Like you could nitpick, like if he's doing in rank order. Like obviously Kelsey's going to be number 1. But I might put Whitworth higher up on it.
Sure.
Like, yeah, he's a second rounder, but I mean, look at the Rams offensive line. They got Whitworth.
He was a stud all the way to the end, man.
Yeah, and then like he couldn't do anymore. He had the neck injury or something like that, and he retired, but they haven't been able to shore up the left side of their offensive line since then.
Yeah.
All right, so tight ends.
All right, moving on to tight end. Yeah, why don't you read off that list for us, man?
All right, so he has Travis Kelce, third rounder in 2013. Rob Gronkowski, second rounder in 2010. George Kittle, fifth rounder in 2017. Jason Witten, third rounder in 2003. And Jimmy Graham, third rounder in 2010.
Yeah, those are all solid guys, right? and a lot of really good receivers at tight end. Not
Mhm.
necessarily like traditional blockers, although Gronk was a great blocker, and some of those other names were great blockers. Oh, here I gotta relocate my camera here for a minute. Um, yeah, it's I guess the one that popped in my head right off the bat that if you're gonna put a lot of weight on receiving, he doesn't touch these guys, right? But I would for sure at least give him an honorable mention, which was Mercedes Lewis.
Mhm.
I mean, that guy just freaking tore it up, dude. He played, I mean, he played last year. And he might latch on somewhere this year. I mean, it just
Mhm.
19 years in the NFL at tight end is freaking unbelievable.
Yeah, a couple people that I would consider throwing on this list. It's a solid list, but I mean, you have Gesicki and Goddard, second rounder and third rounder in 2018. Um, Njoku, third rounder in 17.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they touched these guys, but honorable mention, yeah, that's fine. You going back to older years, you got Dallas Clark in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
He put up a ton of receiving stats with the Colts. One of those safety blanket kind of guys for Peyton Manning for a lot of years. You had Heath Miller 2005. He was kind of like sort of a poor man's version of Mercedes Lewis. He didn't have quite as long of a career, but he was a great blocker for the Steelers for many years. Owen Daniels, he was very productive with the Texans for a long time, good receiving tight end. I guess Mercedes Lewis was a first round pick. So, the value is just because of the freaking longevity, right? And Vernon
Holy
Davis first round
sh!
pick, but you know, what do you
Two,
wholly
I know. I'm just looking at 2009, 2010, both years, 20 tight ends drafted.
okay.
That's a shitload of tight ends.
Yeah, Pettigrew. That didn't work out great for us, but whatever. Um, yeah, man, I do like the top five that they came up with, but definitely got to do the honorable mention to Mercedes Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to scrub the list here to see if there's really anybody else I could try to make a case for. Kyle Rudolph had another great career, but I wouldn't squeeze him into that top five. He's just really damn good. Um,
You have Ertz. I saw him. I didn't mention him. He was a second rounder.
Ertz, yep, he's had a good career and he's been sticking around for a while now. Man, I don't even know, dude. It just yeah,
Like you have a couple like now that like they just haven't started. They just really
just a little
are
too young.
just a little too young. That you had what's his face, Cade Otton,
Yeah, he's looking really good for Tampa Bay.
fourth rounder. Um, I just saw him. Where the fuck did he go? Um, Michael Meyer was a second rounder for the Raiders. But
I know, but he's going to be outshined by
yeah,
Brock
Brock
Bowers
Bowers.
now,
Yeah,
right?
that I was like, I saw Myers and I was thinking Bowers,
Yeah. Tyler
but there was some
Conklin, round five, 2018. Fire up chips.
there was
I'm going to
somebody
hit every Central Michigan guy, my man.
I saw and I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was, but I'm not finding him now. So maybe I just misread it.
Mark Andrews, 2018, third round. He's been pivotal for
Yeah,
the Ravens, but I wouldn't put
but
him in the top five overall.
yeah, I wouldn't put him top five overall. But also with Andrews, like he had like a couple years where he was pivotal, and it kind of fell off.
Yeah, geez, man. And then there's Kyle Pitts, the number 4 overall, that just doesn't seem to want to get there. Every year, every coach talks him up like crazy, and he just kind of never really hits the home run.
Yeah.
Will this be the year? I don't know. Yeah, and then I will say this, like you're saying, that the younger guys, when I went through a lot of the positions, if they were drafted in 2022 or earlier or more recently, it was hard for me to make a case for them to be in a top 5, right? Because they're just too young
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. And another honorable mention would be Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, he's kind of like reinvented himself, right, with the Dolphins, and has found a way to stick around. I like that one. Yep.
Yeah, he was
like an athletic freak that kind of was slow to get it going, and now, maybe he's finally putting it all together late in the career.
Yeah, 3rd rounder in 17. Yeah, outside of that, like, it's really like a bunch of people that didn't catch on, or if they were blocking tight ends, and it's hard to.
Hard to compare it to a bunch of receivers, right?
Yeah, Zach Ertz was the 2nd rounder in 13.
Okay.
So he's got a lot of longevity, and not Mercedes Lewis longevity, but
no, I mean, Mercedes Lewis is a freak for any position. To be 19 years going on to 20, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, that's a long fucking career.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you look at him as a blocker, and even you just hear people around the league talk about him, they say that he's still like a phenomenal blocker today. Yeah, has he lost his speed? For sure. But, minus the 1 year in Jacksonville, he was never really like a difference maker at wide receiver, right? And so, you had him on the team because he gave you that 6th offensive lineman. Like, you got no problem. You got like a Pro Bowl tackle next to your tackle. He's been that good as a blocker, man.
No, exactly. That's just with, he didn't really have the receiving stats, but 100% agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. All right. Well, what are you thinking? You want to switch it up and go to wide receiver next?
Yeah, I'm good to go to wide receiver. Now, I have a lot of issues with his wide receiver list.
Okay.
Because I don't think you can consider the number 22 overall pick as a value pick.
It's tough, man.
He put up a lot of yards his rookie year, and he's a phenomenal receiver, Justin Jefferson. But if you look at it, like, then why is Jamar Chase not on this list?
Yeah, they could easily both be up there. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, then he has Steve Smith.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, because when you're done, I want to talk about first rounders at wide receiver, that if you're going to have Jefferson on there, there's a number of other guys that we could name. But yeah, go through the list and then we'll talk about it.
Then you have Steve Smith, who was a 3rd rounder in 2001. Tyreek Hill was a 5th rounder in 2016. But the reason Tyreek Hill was a 5th rounder is because he had the domestic violence charges at Oklahoma State. I remember him being.
Yeah, Kansas City took a chance on him.
Yeah, Kansas City took a chance on him, but I remember him being talked about before the domestic violence arrest happened. He was they were touting him, like, they were talking about him being projected as a first rounder.
Yeah.
Then he had the domestic violence arrest, and he went to he was at LSU, Oklahoma State. He was at Oklahoma State, and he went to West Alabama for another year, and then entered the draft. Anyways, Devontae Adams, 2nd rounder in 2014. So many good wide receivers that were 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders that I have problems with having a 2nd rounder on this list as a value pick.
Sure. Yeah, I got you.
And then you have like the perfect instance, Marquez Colson, 7th rounder in 2006.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, from the stats he put up, what do you have? 5,000-6,000 yard seasons. It's hard to say that that's not a value. Where you have Devontae Adams, yeah, it was 2014 and he was a 2nd rounder. But first of all, the Packers just kind of fell in that pick, didn't know what the fuck they were doing in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And so, you mentioned Marquez Colston. If I'm looking later in the draft, I don't care that the dude lost his mind. You got to talk about Antonio Brown, another Central Michigan guy. I'm firing it up all night tonight. Round 6 in 2010. That dude was a top 3 wide receiver in the league for like 7 or 8 straight seasons, man. It's like, yeah, you got to mention him. Man, it just, yeah, I know you didn't want to go 2nd rounder. Here's one which I think maybe is a little bit of like more of an honorable mention guy, but would be Julian Edelman. He was a 7th round pick in 2009. And in like the second half of Brady's Patriots run, he was his go-to guy, man. Like he made shit happen. You got Keenan Allen as a 3rd round pick in 2013. He was like 1,000-yard guy every freaking year. Cooper Kupp.
Terry McLaurin, a 3rd rounder in 2019.
Yeah. And now I know he's younger, but you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick in 2021. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Give him a couple more years, and you got to put him on this list. No, and aside from that, I will say I do have 2 other honorable mentions while you're looking at some of the guys here. One of them is I would do Devin Hester, 2nd round pick in 2006. Not a traditional wide receiver, but a phenomenal special teams player. Like, kind of like a once in a generation kind of guy, right? And then also, this is a very small sample size, but very pivotal, was freaking David Tyree, 6th round pick for the Giants, having that sweet helmet catch to upset the Patriots. Had it not been for him hanging onto that roster, you never know.
Chris Godwin was a 3rd rounder in 2017.
Yeah, and he's been putting up some really good stats year in and year out. And then here's the thing with the 1st rounders. I get it that Justin Jefferson was later in the 1st round, but where are you going to draw the line? Because you had high 1st round picks like Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, guys that are going into the Hall of Fame, right? And so it's like, okay, even Julio Jones, it's like, okay, those 3 guys are probably locks for the Hall of Fame. Would you say that they were a value, even though they were a high 1st round pick, right? It's like, because nobody expected anybody to be that good. I don't know. I guess that's the question of when you bring Justin Jefferson in as your number 1 and he was a 1st round pick, what are we saying? Oh, if you're drafted in the second half of the 1st round, you can qualify for this?
Yeah, I just have issues with putting a 1st rounder. I don't have as much of an issue putting a 2nd rounder in there, but a 1st rounder is like, there's so, like, if you put a 1st rounder in there, like okay, like AJ Green was a 1st rounder. Yeah, he was 4th. Julio Jones, those were first rounders. But then you're ignoring like I said,
yeah,
DK Metcalf was like a 5th rounder.
Yeah, I would say take out Justin Jefferson and, like it or not, squeeze Antonio Brown into that top 5. And I probably wouldn't even balk at it. I would probably say, okay, yeah, these are all great value picks, right? And it's just whatever order you want to place them in.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I'm looking at it though. There's a lot of 1st round busts, but I think it's more about the team than anything.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it. You got Mike Evans, man, a dude that's been 1,000 yards every freaking year since
Mm-hmm.
2014. I know he was a high first round pick, right? Like, where the heck did he go? Let me just see if I can pull it up real quick.
He was
He
top
went
10.
seventh overall. I get it, that's high, but where do you draw the line if you're going to start putting first round guys in here?
Yeah, you just can't put value on a first round pick.
It's just deceiving, right? And I looked at it at running back too, where there were some, which I know we're going to get to next, but there's guys like LaDainian and Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson that were first round picks, and you're like, okay, should you maybe be considering them because they were just so freaking good that if you're going to have a guy like Justin Jefferson at wide receiver, can't you make the argument that you could have one of those running backs in the top five, even though they were first rounders? But we'll get to that in a little bit. We're coming up. We got about a minute and a half left. So how about we take our 10-minute timeout, and then we'll dive back in on the running backs, man.
All right, sounds good.
And we're back. Time for the running backs. So, yeah, James, why don't you do us the honors and read off that list, and then we'll pick it apart a little bit.
All right. So the list they have Frank Gore, third overall in 2005.
Badass. Fucking badass.
Fucking badass. Played like did he ever retire? Isn't he still in the league?
He's probably still on a team somewhere. I don't know. And he's secretly putting up 1,000-yard seasons that we don't know about.
Derrick Henry, second rounder in 2016.
Pure runner. Important to point out, because most of the guys on this list are runner receivers.
Yeah. And the thing, and I know I said this with wide receiver, and it holds true almost with running back for me. I don't have a problem with the second rounder being here. And that simply he was a second rounder, but he's been a workhorse, 300 plus carries a year for 8 years in Tennessee?
Yeah, since 2016. So yeah, I mean, he's like, right around 10 seasons almost.
And then you have LaShawn McCoy, another second rounder. This one I kind of have an issue with in 2009.
It's, I thought the same thing. I think the problem is it's you and I remember probably some of his like inconsistent tape, right? Where like some games he would just disappear. But the crazy thing is the dude has such fucking monster stats. I don't know how you exclude him. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, man, I would easily put fucking Nick Chubb over LaShawn McCoy any day. But I guess you can't deny the stats, right? And so like that's one of the metrics that this guy used in picking his top five.
Yeah. And you have Alvin Kamara, who's a third rounder in 17. No issues with that.
Yeah, another runner receiver guy. Yep.
The thing with Kamara is the Saints, they're a completely different team with him on the field versus now with him on the field versus him not being on the field.
Yeah, and he's past his prime now. Yep.
And then the last one I have a big issue with, Matt Forte, second rounder in 2008.
It's because of the running and receiving ability. Again, the dude was very steady for a decent amount of time. And it's tough, man. I thought the same thing, and I think that when I looked at this list, there were a lot of names that I liked, but we needed to see more out of them, right? Like, Jamal Charles, phenomenal. But, injuries kind of cut his career short, right? Who's another one? Le'Veon Bell, phenomenal. But then he had that one season where he held out and everything fell apart. He was never the same after that. And so it's like, and then even a guy like Michael Turner, it's like, holy shit, had that guy not been the backup to LaDainian Tomlinson for the first 4 years of his career, we would be talking about him. Like, if you added 4,000 rushing yards to what he did, you'd be saying, oh, fuck yeah, Michael Turner, he's at least in the top 10, right? Like, I just running back is so tough because so many of these guys, they get hurt or they have some weird things happen. Jonathan Taylor, round two in 2020. He could be a guy we talk about, Joe Mixon, round two, 2017. I do like him, and he is a runner receiver guy. Ray Rice is another one of those guys. It's like, holy shit. If Ray Rice never had that stuff off the field, I would for sure pick him over Matt Forte. But,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
like when I go back and I go back to like, there's a couple people that I would pick over Forte, over possibly over LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy is a stretch. He did end up having a good career. I'll give you that.
it's crazy stats. And I mean, even Matt Forte, let me look him up because he had a ton of fucking receiving yards from what I remember. I mean, all right, so Matt Forte in 10 years was just shy of 10,000 rushing yards and just shy of 5,000 receiving yards. So it's just he was clearly averaging, over 100 yards a game, right? I mean, I'm not doing the math here, but like, let me see, yards per game, 67 on the ground and 32 in the air. So 99 yards a game over 10 years. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal, man. And if you put that just on his first like 7 years, I'm sure it's like decently over 100 yards a game.
All right, so the first one I would put over any of them would be where the fuck do you go? Brian Westbrook.
Yeah, I was thinking about Brian Westbrook, but I didn't look at his stats.
So Brian Westbrook in his career had almost 4,000 receiving yards and 6,400 rushing yards.
Yeah. Shit, I'm getting a different number. I'm showing 3,900 receiving yards. Oh, is that what you said? 3,900 receiving yards and 6,400 rushing yards? You just said it backwards.
Yeah. I said almost 4,000 receiving.
Okay, all right, yeah.
6,400 rushing. I just rounded. I rounded up.
No, it's cool.
He was what?
Where? And he would have been right around what, 99 yards, 100 yards a game?
Yeah, he was a third rounder.
Oh no, yards per game was 78 yards a game over his career, which is lower than I would have thought. But, if you put the earlier part of his career in, it's probably better, right? Those last couple of years with Philly and San Francisco, things really fell apart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he only played 8 games, but like he had very minimal performance.
Yeah, I mean, he went down to 34 yards a game and 24 yards a game. Earlier on, rushing, he had, I guess his first 2 seasons pretty limited, but yeah, I mean, I liked Westbrook for sure. I guess I could see why. All right, so here's one that man, this one, I don't know if you remember this guy, but fuck, I loved watching this guy. And his career was cut short from a knee injury. Do you remember Dominic Davis from the Houston Texans?
Yes.
Dude, do you remember the commercial? I think it might have been David Carr back in the day where they were like something like, "What do you need?" or whatever. And they show him with a center and nobody else on the offensive line and like the whole defense about to kill him, right? Well, that was the era that Dominic Davis was in. Houston had like by far and away the worst offensive line in the league. And the dude averaged, let's see, 80 rushing yards a game and 32 receiving yards a game. I mean, the guy but he only played 3 years, man. And then he had a knee issue and he never came back, man. And that was behind one of the shittiest offensive lines. Like, fuck, could you imagine if he was on a decent team and never got hurt? Oh, I feel so bad for that guy, man. And now he goes by Dominic Williams. Like something happened, he changed his name or whatever. But
And like outside of that, there were a couple, but I'm not finding them now. I didn't. I
I
did it
do
on a
want to keep
different.
it. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. We're getting a little like mixed in our stream here. I feel like I'm talking when you're talking.
No, no, you're fine. You go ahead. I'm looking for the other one that I would put up there.
Yeah, I was going to
You,
say just one other that he's still young, but Kyron Williams is the guy to watch. Fifth
mhm.
rounder in 2022. And
Yeah,
man, he's had some really fucking sharp seasons with the Rams. And I know that it's young, a lot of time to go here, but man, I like what I'm seeing out of that so far.
and I wanted to look up this guy's stats. Like,
I'm just pulling up while you're talking. Go ahead, man.
wow, that's all he had. Yeah, Lamar Miller. Like he had a
Oh yeah,
shorter career,
yeah.
but like he had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess not as good as I thought.
That's all right, man. He had a couple good years. He just I guess when you look at his yards per game, his best season was 2016. He had 76 yards on the ground and 13 in the air. So I mean, I can see where, man, it running back is such a fucking tough one, dude. So many of these guys had so much potential and then just something happened. Like
Yeah,
fucking
like
Maurice Jones-Drew. Where did he end up stat wise? Because he was great, but it was also a shorter kind of run, man.
yeah, like
Fucking 8,000 yards in
Tavis
8 years,
Murray.
man, or 9 years, plus
Mhm.
3,000 in the air. I mean, fuck. He was good, dude. He was really good.
Yeah, and then like oh, it was Aaron Jones. That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is having a nice career, which was weird that Green Bay let him walk.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also good running and receiving, which, fits the bill for what that top five list is minus Derrick Henry, right? Um, yeah, I mean, here's one that it's I guess I would have thought Jonathan Taylor did more out of the backfield as a receiver, but he really doesn't. Um, it's weird. I guess he's only averaging 16 yards a game out of the backfield, but he's averaging close to 90 on the ground, which is very formidable. If he keeps going, he's a guy we'll be talking about, man, because that's solidly over, a little, I mean, not solidly over, but, a little over 100 yards a game on the
Mm-hmm.
ground or overall.
Wow, that was a running back class. Holy shit.
What year?
17.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Leonard Fournette,
17 was
Christian
solid.
McCaffrey, Dalvin
Kamara,
Cook,
James
Mixon,
Conner.
Kareem
Yep.
Hunt, Donta Foreman, James Conner, Samaje P. Ryan, Jamal Williams, Marlon Mack,
A lot of them still playing, man.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah. And I will say this, when you go back and you look at all the drafts from 2000 to now,
Mm-hmm.
the second round is the fucking sweet spot for running backs. There are so many amazing running backs that got picked in the second round. And I know that that's because we were in that era where running backs got devalued and whatever else. And so the good ones started sliding out of the first round a lot of the times. But I mean, Ray Rice, fucking Matt Forte, LaShawn McCoy, Le'Veon Bell, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, fucking Mixon, Chubb, Henry. I mean, everybody that you can think of was like
Miles
basically a fucking
Sanders.
second round running back, man. And all right, and I will say this. Here's another one I would give a little bit of a nod to for the longevity was Latavius Murray. He was a
Mhm.
six rounder in 2013, ran 10 seasons, and that's solid for a running back. Like the average length for a running back is like
So
3.4 years or something, right? So um and then I
yeah,
also would like
65 and a half, 6,552 yards rushing, only 1,600 yards receiving. That's probably why he dropped off the list. Like, I mean, he was averaging,
which guy
oh
are you talking
gosh,
about?
Latavius Murray.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't put him in the top five. I'm putting him in honorable mention because he was productive enough and around enough that you can say not many running backs did what he did. Not many running backs make it that long and keep putting up stats for that long.
Yeah,
But then
true.
another guy, which, I always thought he was more of a receiver, but I guess it didn't really matter because it was about his special teams. But Dante Hall, he was a fifth rounder in 2000 to the Chiefs.
Hmm.
And, he was like the touchdown king for kickoff returns and shit before Devin Hester, right? And so, you know, even though not a traditional running back, it's just good to call it out. And then we talk about the 2022 and up stuff. It's, you got fucking Gibbs, fucking looks amazing. You got some guys, but it's like they're still just so young, it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco was a seventh rounder.
Yeah. And he's been good. I do wonder, is he a bit of a one trick pony? Like, can he
Hmm.
keep it going? How long is it going to last? Like, I guess he's one where I would love to see him. I would love to see him find a way to keep it going because I guess I've been personally speculative that his running style can last.
Yeah,
He
I can
just
give you that.
he just seems like he doesn't have that many tricks up his sleeve. You know, but he does run hard. He just reminds me of what was the guy from Denver, Philip Lindsay. You remember
Hmm.
him? Something about Pacheco reminds me of Philip Lindsay. And it's like, man, I loved it when Philip Lindsay was around, but I also kind of thought, he's just like a little firecracker, man. He's not gonna be able to like maintain for, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever you want to see, right? But maybe Pacheco proves me wrong, and that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll see. I like his style. I'm not going to talk about who they drafted as a first rounder. We don't talk about
Uh,
him.
yes, we don't talk the one that we don't use his name or whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, you want to go to the quarterbacks then, my man?
All right. Quarterbacks. First, most obvious one is the sixth rounder in 2000, Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's one where I think I was saying earlier, or I was trying to get to, which is like, even if you included all first rounders, I think Tom Brady still obviously takes the cake, right? So,
Yeah. Then you have Aaron Rodgers as a first rounder. I don't like putting first rounders in here. Lamar
yeah.
Jackson as a first rounder. I don't like putting first rounders in here. Um, so Rodgers shouldn't have fallen to Green Bay. They fucking lucked the fuck out.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson. I consider Lamar more of a second rounder. They just traded up into the first
Hmm.
round to get him because he would have been there, but you get the fifth year option. So I'm okay with Lamar. I don't like Rodgers there though. Russell Wilson, third rounder. He won Super Bowl, took him to a second Super Bowl. Um, One I have a lot of issues with is because he's too young to really say if he's going to be good or not. He got a huge contract. Is Brock Purdy, who's Mr. Irrelevant in 2022. I have
Yeah.
a lot of issues with him when you consider, like, if you want to go talk
Oh,
about
fucking dude. Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins.
Yep. Oh yeah, you could argue for sure Cousins should be up here if Purdy's up here because
Mhm.
Cousins is damn near a Purdy, but he's been doing it for like, fucking 10 more years.
Exactly. Cousins third rounder,
Cousins was a fourth rounder.
fourth rounder. He was a fourth rounder. Same year they drafted RG3. We know which one went out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
let me
and I
see.
mean, fucking Romo was undrafted. Like him or not, Romo was a really good quarterback, man. He did
Mhm.
some stupid shit like that vacation before the playoff came or whatever, but wildly productive for an undrafted guy.
Gardner
You know,
Minshew was a sixth rounder,
fucking Dak Prescott. I know we talk a lot of shit about him. He was a
third
fourth
rounder,
rounder,
fourth
man, and
rounder.
he's put up a lot of fucking stats, man. And this guy's older. This guy is older, and I know that he's, not going to be popular with many people, but even fucking Mark Bulger, man, he took over, the greatest show on turf after
Mhm.
Kurt Warner, and man, he put up some fucking yards, dude. Like back
Kurt Warner.
before,
Kurt Warner was undrafted.
yeah, but he was what year? He was before 2000, wasn't he? Or maybe he wasn't.
No, he would have been before 2000. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like even Bulger, man. I mean, fuck, he was pushing 4,000 yards a year almost every year before quarterbacks did that shit.
Didn't
I
Nick
mean,
Foles win a Super Bowl?
I was going to honorable mention Nick Foles. You got a Philly special, a third rounder. I don't care. I don't care if he's not been a starter his whole career. He was the most exciting quarterback in the Super Bowl in our fucking lifetime. And I
Mhm.
mean, I don't care if that's all he ever fucking does or did or whatever. It was amazing, man.
Shit, I didn't know
Oh,
Lefevre was drafted.
fuck yeah, fire up chips. Oh,
I
I
didn't realize. I didn't
didn't
realize
name
he was drafted.
I didn't name Thomas Rawls in the running backs, right? Because he transferred from like Michigan or whatever. So, there was some debate on that. But yeah. Yeah, Lefevre, it didn't work out. Lefevre was drafted to the Mike Martz Chicago Bears offense, and he
Mhm.
was not a West Coast quarterback in college. And so it didn't make sense. It wasn't a fit, and it didn't matter. He ended up trying to go to the CFL for a little while, and everything just kind of fell apart for him. But I liked Lefevre, man. He was an overperformer. And then a
Ryan
guy that
Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, a seventh rounder.
loved Fitzy, and then even he's still fairly young and been a little up and down, but dude, fucking Jalen Hurts, man, just won a fucking Super Bowl, and he was great in that fucking Super
Mhm.
Bowl. He was a third rounder, man. He's a runner. He's a quarterback that can run the ball. I just yeah, I guess I'm with you. With Purdy is a little, I think, a little soon to put him on the list. Um, And then Lamar, I think it's tough to put a first rounder on there, especially Lamar because he hasn't won a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Rodgers, first rounder, you could say, well, yeah, he did win a Super Bowl and arguably was like the best quarterback of that generation fighting with Brady and Manning or whatever. But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
like even like with like Rogers, like
should
just
have won
like
more than one if he was that good.
how about this one? Ben Roethlisberger,
Oh, I fucking love Roethlisberger. You
third
know,
rounder.
I think if you're gonna, oh shit, I just messed up our recording there. Sorry. Um, I think if you're gonna go Roethlisberger, you got to open the door to Eli Manning, even though most
Why?
people hate Eli Manning. Eli Manning won two Super Bowls, and he did put up a lot of fucking stats.
Eli
You know,
Manning was the number one overall pick.
well, yeah, but Roethlisberger was a first rounder too, though.
Oh, shit. So my eyes read the wrong column.
Oh, all right, all right. So I'm like, I would love to talk about Roethlisberger, but he was a first round pick, right?
No. My eyes read the wrong column. I
Okay.
flipped the third quarterback drafted for third round.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because I would put
That makes more
Roethlisberger in
sense.
there. If we were going to look at first round guys, I'd have Roethlisberger in there. I would even say maybe you got to go back and include a guy like Michael Vick because he was kind of like a unique talent. Like it's just I don't like putting first rounders in there. We've talked about that, right? And I think you agree, which is maybe our biggest beef with this guy's list, is that you could have found a way to do it without having any first rounders.
Mm-hmm. You could have easily found a way to do it without having any first rounders. I really don't like Brock Purdy on there. Like,
Yeah. All right. So listen, so we got 7 minutes left for this, and we can always keep going or whatever. But so tonight we're critiquing this guy's list. Do you want to, for next week, like do a list of just first round guys, or do you want to do a list of, like, do you want to, how do we continue this, right? Do we say, okay, this guy had a couple first rounders. Well, if we only looked at first rounders and nobody else, this would be the 1 through 5 for each position.
I have a different way of looking at it.
Well,
Instead of doing that, why don't we go the skill positions, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and talk about the worst first round picks?
Oh, the worst. Okay, let me. Well, I can't. Dang it! This is freaking. I lost my thing here. Crap. Hang on a second. Okay, I think I just got it back. All right, so next GG. Worst first round picks. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Do you want to do tight end too? Might as well.
Are there that many?
Well, we could start with tight end. And maybe we'll name one or two.
Yeah, we could go tight end.
Cool. I'm good with that. Well, what else? What else do you want to hit on this list, man, or on this article?
I don't know if there's much more else to hit on this article. Like I keep saying, I hate first rounders being on it. I almost like I can understand second rounders being on it, but that still feels like at non-quarterback second rounders kind of feels iffy because like quarterbacks, like you're trying, like really with quarterback, you're trying to get your guy, and there's going to be people that aren't worth a first round pick, but are worth the second round pick and are fucking awesome. But like running back, like second rounders feels iffy to me because there's so many of them in the draft. I know you had the devaluation in the 2010s, but wide receiver, there's no way in hell first or second round wide receiver should be on this list. You're looking for somebody that you scouted that you didn't know, like the unknown guy that ended up being fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. I guess then the question I have is like, where do we cut it off? Do we have maybe a top 5 for the first and second round, and then a top 5 for third round and later? Because then it's like basically you're taking away all of your higher probability of hitting with those first and second round picks, and then you're really finding your gems in the third round and later.
I would just cut it off as top 5, like he says, value picks.
Okay.
And first, second rounders aren't value picks.
Well, then we're saying that So it can't be considered value. I'm saying we would put a ranking of the best picks from the first and second round by position versus the best value picks from third round or later.
Yeah.
Or I guess it would be best picks third round or later because they're all value picks at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. But we got our game plan for next week. That's cool, man. What else? What else? I mean, we didn't talk about Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, because I guess he was drafted as a running back. But yeah, I got to give a little love to the fullbacks. He's been good.
Yeah, which is weird because like he was drafted as a running back, but then like if you look at like the history of the draft, like you have a bunch of fucking fullbacks.
Yeah.
Like a whole separate list of fullbacks, but it was, well, I guess, halfbacks. So never mind.
Yeah. And then there's Patrick Ricard. He was another really good fullback. He's still playing for the Ravens. There are good fullbacks out there, man. But yeah, I like Juszczyk, man. He's so versatile. It's just he's a guy you can incorporate him into your game plan like any way you want. A receiver, a blocker, a runner, trick plays, doesn't fucking matter, man. He just he's like a fullback version of like Taysom Hill almost, except he can't do the quarterback stuff. So, in fact, Taysom Hill should just convert to fullback. I don't know.
And then for some reason, you have at some points first round kickers and punters.
We don't need to go there. Unless you want to.
No.
We got a minute 26 to go.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I was kidding about first round kickers and punters. I think the only one was Janikowski.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think because the Moody guy for San Francisco was what, a second rounder?
Third.
Jake Moody? Was he third? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Well, just glancing at the list, you have Jason Hansen was a second rounder.
Okay.
And then Janikowski was a first rounder, and then everything. And John Lee was a third rounder. Ooh, we have 1980. Oh, I just went way the far back. All right. Anyways, I digress.
All right. You want to take 10 minutes and then hop back on just for fun?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Anybody who's watching, we hope you like the show. Peace out. All that fun stuff.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.